but that's the reality, right? um, what happens when those jobs and stuff are taken from them? What do they do about food then? What do they do about care? Yeah,
So customers,
I think there's a lot of different reasons why the children go missing, but um, that could definitely be a part of it. I'm not going to speculate on that, but there's been, unfortunately, there's been a lot of cases, and we do know that unfortunately child trafficking is a thing. It's been a thing for hundreds of years. You know what I mean? Not something that just started down. I mean, it's getting crazier because these people are swiping kids right next to the mothers and shit in Walmart now, which is way crazier, I think, than before, where it was like just trying to get kids on the way home from school or something. And now it's like you see video after video where kids are being snatched right by the parent, or at least attempted. I would say a lot of the videos are attempted kidnappings and stuff, which is sad, very sad. So yeah, for 2 seconds I felt really bad because it was just like, damn, just like the blood diamond, right? When the thing came out about how the children workers and everything, and there was the one movie. I don't know, it was it
it was
called Blood
called
Diamond?
Blood Diamond. Mhm.
Okay, that movie had me crying. That movie was sad as shit. That movie had me feeling like I never want to buy a fucking diamond again. Now, have I bought a diamond? No, because I'm not a diamond person. I just, I'm not called to diamonds like that. But um, is it in the back of my mind? Yeah. Would I probably never buy a diamond? I probably will buy one. I don't know. I'm not going to say we're shitty people just because we kind of brush it off because it's not our life. I think sometimes we kind of feel like, well, what can we really do? And I think that's to each his own what your moral standard is of how you feel. Just like some people don't eat meat and they're against eating meat, right? Because they don't want to have that kind of where people actually say, well, if the animal's been slaughtered and you take in that kind of energy. And some people are like, fuck that, I need my meat. I don't care how the
Mhm.
animal was killed, right? Right, exactly, Kimberly. Exactly. That's my point on that. I've seen a lot of, like I said, a lot of different documents from different countries, and unfortunately, a lot of those children that are working are like they're taking care of their family, and there is no program. Like there's no welfare, there is no money from the government. No one's giving anything. These people live in like these little fucking made shacks that they made themselves. So conditions in other countries are pretty harsh at times. Not every country is just chilling.
It's
Not every
not.
country is built like America. Not to say America is the best country. We have a lot of homeless ourselves, but not everyone is built like this, where our hoods still have four walls. You know what I mean? Like even though it's shitty, you still have a place with walls and running water. You know what I mean? Unless you don't have electricity, and that's a whole nother story. But our poor is still a step up from poor, a big step up from a lot of poor in other countries. Right. So it just intrigued me to read this article, and kind of weigh the options. As, like I said, I'm a crystal seller. I have a crystal shop. I've been doing this all year now. Do I stop selling crystals because of the background and the unknown factor of where the crystals come from? Or do I continue to support the people that I've built these bonds with, to buy their crystals from them and support them in that way? It's that ethical kind of decision. Not to say I'm unethical, but I kind of feel like everything that we touch has some type of origin story.
Yeah.
Um, and I do feel like most of it, if we looked at everything that we purchase, most likely has a fucked up story to it. you know?
Right. Yeah, I'm just now getting into the the meat one, but I'm that person. I just can't not eat meat. I get it. I understand it. I hear it, but I could not eat meat. I mean, I
Right.
could, but I'd probably
The
not, like, it wouldn't work for a while. I
Me,
don't
the
know.
carnivore always comes out because that eating grass ain't for me. Like I'm like,
It would be so hard.
yeah, it is. It is. Now I get what people say, when you think about how I've seen a lot of different videos. If you guys have seen the cows being slaughtered and they're not even being slaughtered, some of them are beaten, some of them are tortured before. Some of these people who actually kill the cows and stuff, they're actually fucking beating them. There's video of this shit where it's like you got to be a very sick person to be torturing a fucking cow before it goes down the line to be slaughtered, and cutting the necks of these damn poor cows. It's just crazy. I think the video that I saw, I was crying, right? And it made me actually stop eating like steak and ground beef and shit for a while because it just was really sad. Even the calves, the babies. I seen some of these men were stomping these fucking babies out and shit. And I was just like, like that. I can't, I
Hmm.
can't I can't watch shit like that no more because it makes me I feel it too much. So I can't watch shit like that. It's just too much for me. But I remember watching it and feeling so bad. And I can tell you that certain places that you do get irritable and shit after eating certain places and certain foods and stuff. If you watch your levels, if you watch yourself, you will see that some places, unfortunately, their food, the energy behind it's not good, and you will see that you're more irritable. Maybe you're a little bit more irritated that day. Maybe you're a little bit more snappy. But we don't have that type of self awareness to understand that. We just think we're having a bad day or we think this. But I've noticed that like I don't eat from Burger King. I mean, I used to eat from Burger King, but I don't anymore. And there's just something about the meat that I just can't eat no more. It's just something about it. I'm very iffy on McDonald's. I'm very iffy on McDonald's. You said you won't eat fresh meat? What does that mean, fresh meat? Like the cows cut in front of you type shit? Fresh meat?
Mm,
One of the things that I learned where not learned because we all go through this where when we're little, most families anyway. My family really didn't do the blessing of the food before we ate. We really just didn't. But most families, like, you do your prayer, you bless your food before you eat it. And I feel like that technique for me is profound. And we have a beautiful healer that we work with, Nicole Lasso, who I got to sit in one of her beta classes, and she said this that stuck with me from there, and now I actually do it. I actually picture it. Everything that we eat, if we take the moment to bless it, but not just bless it, take it to a whole nother level. So when we're blessing it, we're thinking of the people in the store that stocked it. When we go beyond that, we're thinking of the person who chopped it up, who prepared it. If we go beyond that, we're looking, if it's an animal, we're looking at when it was raised, we're looking at who attended to it. We're sending that love all through whoever has touched it. That started to change for me on how I eat, and just really sitting there and thinking, visualizing, like even sushi, visualizing someone rolling the sushi for me at the store and just sending them that thank you for rolling the sushi and making it so good for me. So I think part of it is probably just kind of changing some of the things we do, because even though we can't really stop the harshness of the world, not
hmm.
really, there's a lot of practices that unfortunately are harsh, right? And somebody has to do them. That's why people work in those places. But if we stop to take those moments to be gracious of those sacrifices made for us, then I think it changes the energy a lot on everything that we do on some level. At least that's what I believe. Right. So just taking that moment, even when you eat out, to just think about not even just like when you cook, right? And you're saying, well, thank me, thank God, thank whoever, thank creator, right? But if you sit there and really think about the person who stocked that stuff on the shelf at the grocery store, the person who unloaded the truck at the grocery store, who, then where it comes from, the people in the factory who created, that are making the macaronis. If you just go back and just visualize that whole train of where your food may have came from, you're sending these blessings and blessings and blessings. And for me, that was profound. I don't know. It just hit me a certain way when she said that. It just hit me in this
I
huge
mean,
way. In this,
it makes sense. I get it. Of course, me, I always forget to pray or say a damn blessing to my food. I'm horrible with that. I just eat it. But it makes well enough sense, and she's right. Like there's just certain jobs that people have to do. Now, how they choose to do it is
right,
is the problem, but there's always going to be that because nobody's just going to change and decide that they're not eating meat anymore. They're not going to buy crystals anymore.
right,
Sounds good. Sounds
right,
good, right? But it doesn't work like that. And so to think
right,
about it that way, where you're trying to bless the energy throughout the line of how it got to you, that makes sense.
right.
Makes a lot of
Or
sense.
even like if we look at pig farms and chicken farms and all these farms, right? And I know animal activists and everyone gets very pissed off and mad, and we look at it as abuse and how they're in these cages, and how happy is this animal in this cage. But on the other side of it, they're being farmed for food. They're not being farmed to become pets. Like there's a big difference. If we kind of just really look at it, there's a big difference from, the chicken that you're going to go play with, which no one buys chickens to play with, right? No one really buys a chicken as a pet. Pretty much everyone who has chickens is going to eat them at some time, right? Or they want the eggs from the chicken, right? So when you're looking at it, yes, some of this stuff might be a little gruesome. Yes, it might be a little disheartening to see, like the pigs and the cows and everything that are in these kind of stables stacked against each other, but they're not being raised for pets. They're not being raised for that fashion. They're being raised purely for food. And there's not enough people. If you guys look at the demand, like let's just take it a step further. If we look at the demand of food, if we look at the demand of meat, how many billion people across the world, right? There's not enough workers that could sit and love the cows, you know what I mean, in that
Hmm.
manner, make sure that each cow is loved and cared for a day. There is not enough workers that could do that to sustain the the amount of people who eat, the amount of meat. If you go to a grocery store, how much meat goes out in a day? How many billions of people are buying meat every day? The demand is way too far to try to keep up. Those smaller farmers that used to attend to the farm, and their kids would be on the farm, and so maybe the chickens and shit and everybody was a little bit happier because the family tended to it. That's all different now because of the demand. The
Yeah.
demand is way way more, so people can't keep up with that. They just can't. Well, exactly. Because then if you go, that's the other argument. Someone's other argument would be, if we go to the wild, you know what I mean? And people are like, well, you don't have to eat. The thing is, if a lion goes out there, right, and a lioness, because the lioness is the one who hunts, right? She's the one who goes and hunts. If she's out in the wilderness, and yes, she's a carnivore, she's not going to say, let me go pick some berries over this deer. Now, some people will argue, well, we're not lions. We're not lions, right? So we get to choose. And exactly that.
Hmm.
We get to choose. Do we want to eat meat or not? And if someone chooses to eat meat, shit, eat away. If that's your choice, eat away. But just to say, oh, these poor cows, because yeah, other predators will fuck them up in 2 seconds.